us off here.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you guys all for coming out tonight and battling the snow. I appreciate it. I'm Allison. I'm the Community Relations Director for this community that you are sitting in right now. Our name is Traditions at North Willow. We've been here for about 2.5 years now. We've got independent living, assisted living, memory care, and now we have on-site therapy as well. So our newest project has been our villas. That's what you could see as you were driving up here, the little cute cottage homes, all single story. Those are the villas. So that's a great option for people that are coming from their homes, looking for just a good downsizing option, that want the maintenance-free living, want their utilities paid for, don't want to clean the gutters, don't want to battle the snow. We help with all of that. You get some meals thrown in there. You also have access to everything within this main building. So we have the cafe space that we're in here right now. We've got our dining hall that you would have access to, a salon, a movie theater, a library, a chapel, a fitness center, and a clubhouse. So I kind of like to say it's a cruise ship on land. You always have stuff to do in here, whether you're in the villas or you're in the main building. I'd love to chat with anyone that's interested in learning more about the villas or more about the main building with our assisted living and memory care options. We do have availability, which is nice that we are welcoming people through the December and winter months. I know it can be a stressful time for families, especially when you go to visit a loved one and they're not doing as well as you thought they were doing. Give me a call, I can help. I can go out, do a visit with you, just chat to see where you guys are at in the process, meet you exactly where you're at. Again, my name is Allison, welcome, and I'm excited for you guys to meet all of our panelists.
We have to stand.
No,
Can you see me? I know you'll be able to hear me. I'm just I'm Jane Gauchi. I'm a local real estate agent. I actually live right about a mile from here, although we service, I would say, almost half of the city. I've been in the business for about 20 years, and recently, I guess in the last 5 years, especially given my age, I am starting to recognize helping a lot of seniors move out of their forever homes into downsizing. So from my perspective, I have helped people come into assisted living, but I have also certainly worked with downsizing, or even just literally a plan, a 5-year plan of get me in here now, let me help you talk through the plan of how in the heck do you downsize. So we start there, but obviously my main focus is to get your house sold and then get you settled into a new home, whether it's just a smaller lifestyle, closer to your family, whatever it is. I do have a designation, a senior residential accreditation that gives me a little bit more of an edge in terms of knowledge and how to help. But we work in tandem with the downsizing companies, auction houses, etc. But we're kind of I like to say that I am the general contractor of your move. And it can literally start 5 years before you're even ready to go. Nobody understands being in a house longer than I do. My sister currently lives in the home that I grew up in. It's a 150-year-old Victorian. And she's we'll probably pull her out feet first. So that said, I understand every level of it. So if you have any questions about real estate, that's what I'm here for.
Well, I'm sitting here between two very attractive young women who are thin enough that I don't feel too bad about putting my elbows on the chair here. My name is Ron Wright. I'm an attorney. We have offices located at 116th Street Meridian in Carmel. It's a general practice firm, but we do a great deal of long-term care, both aid and attendance for veterans, and also Medicaid waiver, and we do a lot of estate planning. Succession planning for businesses. It's amazing to me, many businesses, I should say, don't make it through the second generation. And with some good planning, that can be avoided. You're there to basically, if it's your business, You put your heart and soul into it, and you want to make sure that it keeps going after you're retired or semi-retired. Some of my clients never retire, and look at me, I'm still doing this thing. So, my point being that as your practice matures, and your client's base matures, you find yourself more and more involved with the elder law aspects of your practice. And we do it. We do a great deal of it. I want to give a shout out to Gunta in the back. Gunta Irby is my marketing director in the back here, and she's the one that I go to meetings and they ask me, well, where's Gunta? They don't know me, but they know her. So. But this is a delightful group of people, and I'm very happy to be here this evening. Look forward to discussing, trying to answer your questions.
I am Renee Anderson. I'm with Caring Transitions, and we are a downsizing relocation specialist. We pretty much will come in and meet your clients wherever they are and try to help them with the whole transition from moving from the size of the home that they're in to a smaller space. And usually what that entails is that you have all of these things that you have to do something with. And a lot of times we're going into a home and somebody's been in their house for 50 years and they have all these things throughout the house, their children's things, their parents' things, and they can't take it with them to a smaller sized home. So we will go through, and what we do is we'll go in and give them a free consultation, we'll work with them, we'll find out what their goals are, what they want us to do, and then we work with helping them with either, getting the move set up, getting an estate sale or an online auction, or we will take things to make the donations. We take all the hazardous waste to the facilities that they need to go to. So we're pretty much giving them an empty home at the end so that they can sell their home and use the money for their care or for traveling or whatever they're wanting to do with their money. And we will, our goal usually is at the end, we want to have an empty home, room swept, and them in their new space and comfortable and have things set up so that they can have all their things where they want it to be and the things that they want to have with them. A lot of times we'll work with the family members, we'll work with the kids. We start off and with the whole process, we're going in, we're setting a plan, and we're taking them step by step through the process. The thing that I love about what we're doing is I love working with the older people. I love their stories. I love hearing what they're doing. I love hearing about their families. Part of the process is that we like getting to know the client and knowing what they want, and so that when we're going in there, a lot of times we'll run into situations where people are starting to have some cognitive difficulties. There's Alzheimer's and all the dementia, and we work with those clients also with helping them set up a place that's going to be familiar to them. So if they're moving from their home and their bedroom set up, we will take pictures of that bedroom and we will go and emulate it in the new place so that they will feel comfortable and feel like it's their home. We'll even go as far as to take pictures of each one of their drawers so we know the way they had things, so we will put it back exactly the way it was. A lot of times, besides that, we also do clean outs. Like sometimes people have homes where there's just so much stuff. You've got people who have those outhouse barns that are just sitting there and they're full of stuff. So, and we'll sort and organize, and we'll go through all those things for them, and we've found things like, $60,000 worth of jewelry, thousands of dollars. We found jewelry hidden in places. So there's a lot of things that we find that we bring and give to the client that they don't even know that they have because they forget, because time goes on and you start losing some of your thought process and forgetting what you things. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. Our goal, like I said, is to take that stress that everybody has, because moving is one of the top 3 stressors that we ever face in our lifetimes. And so we do that over and over again, which makes us really good at it. And we also like to take that stress from our clients. We want them not to have to deal with that. I love it when we've gone in and we've had this huge home and we've taken it, and we had a lady who had some cognitive issues, and she walked in and we had her family take her out for 4 hours. She came back and we had her room set up exactly the way she had it before, and she walked in and she put her hands on her, she's like, oh, it's my home. And it was just the best feeling you can get from having them have that transition and know that she was comfortable there. So that made her feel at home. So that's our goal.
Hello everyone, my name is Dave Holder. I'm the owner of Assisted Living Locators, your local senior living advisor. You can kind of think of me as like a senior living realtor. I focus on independent assisted living or memory care. So I will help you understand what options are there and take you through the entire process. And I do that in 4 steps where, like a realtor, I'll understand what amenities you're looking for and what locations, but we'll also talk about care levels that you might need, the finances that you have, and what are your long-term goals, and then I'll make recommendations based on that. Then I'll actually take you on the tours of those communities, make sure you understand the cost, the care levels, everything that community has to offer, and then finally help you make a decision based on that and be as involved as you want in the moving process, anything like that. It's all no cost, so I am there to help you through this process. I started in this, I have a background in landscaping, so that's who you want to talk to about senior living, right? The guy that knows about crabgrass. That's my guy. But my family went through this, and we had a situation. My father-in-law had dementia, and we waited too long. We didn't know what questions to ask, and I watched that stress on my family. And so my goal is to help you understand all the steps and eliminate all that stress. So thanks for coming.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Wambach and I'm here from Oak Street Health, and we are a primary care doctor's office for people on Medicare. And so in a lot of ways, if you came to our offices, it would look like any other doctor's office you've probably been to, but if you started going through an appointment or learning more about us, there are a lot of really important differences that I think make us stand out. We're a relatively young company. We started in Chicago 6 years ago, and we've been in Indianapolis for about 4 years. And we have 4 locations in Indy. I'm from the location that's at 53rd and Keystone, not too far from here. We also have locations in Irvington and Speedway, and on the south side near the University of Indianapolis. So our whole model is different than what you may be used to. If you've ever heard of a values-based healthcare model, that is what Oak Street is. And so what that means is the more typical primary care model, those companies are reimbursed based on the number of patients they have and how many they can see in a day. And so as a result, if you've ever had that feeling like your doctor doesn't really know you, or you're not seeing your own doctor, or you're not able to get in a timely manner, that's the result of that doctor probably having a really large patient panel. So the average in the United States is over 2,000 patients per provider. At Oak Street, our whole model is different. So we don't get reimbursed based on the number of people we can cram in a day. We're actually financially invested in our patients, their health outcomes. So we, not only because we care and we're doctors and nurses and we want you to get healthier, but we actually survive and thrive as a business when we can make our patients healthier. So we really focus on preventative care. And so we accomplish that in several ways. We make sure that our providers have a really low patient panel. So it depends on the individual patients, but the providers are typically capped somewhere around 500 to 700 patients. So instead of that over 2,000 number, they're dealing with much fewer people. And so because of that, they're able to really get to know those people on a personal level. And they can also see them a lot more frequently. And in fact, even our healthiest patients, we ideally like to see them every few months, even if nothing's wrong. We just want to keep checking up on them and making sure everything's still going well. And then our patients who do have chronic health conditions or something's happening, we see them as often sometimes as every 2 or 3 weeks. So we see people when they need to be seen, and even if they don't need to be seen, we still want to check in on them. And we also do we offer some other benefits that just encourage people to focus on their health. We offer free transportation because we found that transportation is a huge barrier, especially for seniors getting to the doctor. And so we thought, well, how can we just take that away as a roadblock? So we offer free transportation to and from appointments. We do a lot of social events. So even if you're not a patient of Oak Street, we do probably about 50 to 60 events a month. And some of those we do in facilities like this one. But other places we'll go out and go see a movie or go have dinner or lunch at MCL, and anybody 55 and older is invited to those, and they're always free. So that's part of our model of, if you're happy and healthy and staying socially active, then it will have a positive impact on your health. Another cool benefit that I really like to brag about is that our doctors and providers, they all have a scribe in the room with them. So that's somebody who is taking notes for them. So if you've ever had that experience, I know I experienced this at the doctor where the doctor is just looking at a screen the whole time. And even though you may know that this is part of their job and they're taking notes, it's still, you're losing some of that personal connection, and it can be hard to tell, are they really hearing me right now, or are they just doing something else? So a scribe It's the same scribe with every provider, and they're in there taking the notes for the provider so that the provider can just focus one-on-one with you, and they're not worried about entering their notes. That's what the scribe is there for. And then after that appointment, they will meet and go through the notes, and the doctor will add anything that they think should be in there or make any corrections. And it's just really neat to see that relationship too, because they really work as a team, and it just gives, again, more focus on that patient. So we do a lot of things differently, and even if you're not interested in becoming a patient, I would encourage you to check out some of our events because they're a lot of fun. So thank you for having me here today. I'm looking forward to hopefully answering some questions.
Hi, I'm Jack Barlow with AMRAMP, and just to reinforce a little bit of what Renee said about moving is stressful. Our family moved 6 times in 1 year, so I knew 6 times in 1 year. So I know what that means. What we do is we provide accessibility to your home. A lot of people want to stay in their home as long as they possibly can, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know if they can. I've just recently been certified. Now that's a good thing. Certified in CAPS. I'm a certified aging in place specialist. So I can go into your home and discuss with you what you need, what would help you in your house. And of course, the primary thing that we do is get you into the house. A lot of people, when they downsize, they're looking at other homes. They see a home that they like, but I can't get up these steps anymore. Or I broke my leg, or something's happened, I don't know that I'll ever be able to walk up the steps anymore. Well, that's what we're here for. We'll provide that for you. We have wheelchair ramps, we have vertical platform lifts, we have stair lifts, so if you have upstairs in your house and you can't get upstairs anymore, we can get you upstairs. So that's something that you don't have to worry about. We do, of course, sell them, or we can also rent. And if you wanted to rent that, 75% of your rent would turn over into a purchase if later on you decided, you know what, I'm not going to get better. This is the way my life's going to be. Then we can just sell it to you, and then you don't have to keep renting it forever. The other thing that I'm proud of is that our company is AMRAMP, and it's owned by a company called Pathfinder Services. A lot of you in Indianapolis might not be familiar with it, but in northern Indiana, we have group homes all over northern Indiana for the mentally handicapped. Medicare and Medicaid do a great job, but they don't pay enough to run a group home. We have to come up with other funding. So we do a lot of different projects. We have a turkey trot at Thanksgiving Day where we raise money. We sell candles. That's another way to raise money. And then what they ask me to do is all of my profits then go back to paying for the group homes. So that whenever somebody rents or buys a ramp from me, one of the things that's nice is they get the ramp, obviously, but they're also supporting a nonprofit organization. They're helping the mentally disabled. So it's a nice feeling for everybody when we're done.
Hi, I am Gail Pfeiffer. I'm with Advocate Care Management. I am a geriatric care manager. And you guys, what is that? I go in and as an RN, do an assessment with the client and their family to determine what the needs are. Are there health care needs? Is the home environment appropriate? Are all of their legal issues met? Are their financial issues met? And I coordinate all that. I work with them. A lot of times with the clients, they want to stay in their home. So I work with people to come in and adapt the home. Maybe they need some assistance in the home. I can get either skilled care, therapy, or a nurse to come, or if they don't need skilled, we can get a personal care attendant to come and assist with some of the things. And coordinate that and make sure that they are doing what they should be doing and under the guidelines of the State Board of Health. If the home is no longer appropriate, what level of care is appropriate for them, and help them in making those arrangements by tapping into a lot of the people here. I also frequently attend doctor's appointments with my clients because a lot of times when you see the physician You don't always hear what's going on, and sometimes you forget to tell them some of the important things. And I coordinate that. Is the physician appropriate? How many people have like 5 or 6 doctors with specialists that it's excessive and it's not always necessary? So I work with the client, family, and the medical team to make sure that it's appropriate and it's reasonable and their needs are met. My goal is to work with the client, family, and the whole team to improve the quality of life. If you have any questions, happy to help.
Any questions so far? Emily, I was going to have you, this first time you've been on one of my panels, so I'm going to pick on you. When I first met you, you told me about the stats from Oak Street Health, and I was completely blown away. I will give you that opportunity to.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, because I forgot to mention that. So, our model really does work, and some of the stats, like Jim said, that can blow you away because they sound almost fake, and I promise they're not. The biggest one, probably the most shocking one, is that patients who go to Oak Street versus those who don't, and they accounted for, similar income levels and all those kind of things. There's a 98% reduction in diabetic amputations. It's important to note that Indiana is actually one of the top states for diabetic amputations. And the reason that that number is so high, why we're able to prevent so many of those at Oak Street, is because a lot of those amputations probably could have been prevented at some point. But then they got past the point where it was too late. Sometimes they're probably not preventable at all, but in a lot of cases, maybe the person wasn't able to get into the doctor when they could have, or when they should have. Maybe they weren't getting the proper treatment, and so by really watching diabetics very, very closely, we're able to greatly reduce those. Another really cool stat is that Oak Street patients versus non-Oak Street patients, again, same demographics, go to the hospital 40% less than people who don't go to Oak Street. And one reason for that is simply, if you call your doctor and you're not able to get in, and then your condition gets worse, you might go to the hospital, or you might feel like, well, I wasn't going to go to the hospital, but if nobody's going to see me, I don't want to not be seen for 2 or 3 weeks, and this will get worse. So you go to the ER or the hospital because you feel like you have no other option. So we really try to provide those options for people, and like I said earlier, just see them frequently enough that that little cold isn't developing into pneumonia that's then putting you in the hospital. We're taking care of it, hopefully, before it gets more serious. So thank you, Jim.
What's the participation rate for the social studies that you provide? Like, do you have a lot of, like, what's your numbers that come to the kind of social? Because I know that has a lot to do with the health too.
Yeah.
When that's provided and you're encouraging that. And if somebody's seeing somebody regularly, I'm just always wondering if they're taking advantage of that.
Yeah. It kind of varies. I mean, we do a lot of community events that attract people some who are patients and some who aren't. Probably the biggest event we do is our senior grocery day, where it's kind of like a pop-up food pantry, and we get about 100 to 150 people at that. And then we actually also, I forgot to mention this, but we have a community room, and we do daily events in there, and those, a lot of times we get a lot more participation from patients because they're there anyway. So I would say an average of those events, we maybe have 10 people attend, which may not sound like a lot, but we're actually we're the newest clinic, so we have the fewest patients right now. So I guess if you compare that to our overall patients, I don't even remember now how many we have, but I'd say participation is pretty good. And I know that, like, our providers, we have a scribe who recently was like just poring over our community room calendar and asking me all these questions. I finally was like, why are you asking me all these questions? And she has a patient that she was trying to find an event that she could schedule his appointment so he could come to an event, because she said, I'm really worried about him because I think he's really lonely, so I'm trying to pick one and so I kind of helped her find one that I thought, like, and I was able to think of, I'm like, I know this lady's gonna be here, and she brings her husband, so they can all be friends, and so it's cool to see that community developing.
Are there a lot that are in the senior communities already, or are there a lot that are still in the homes, or which?
It's a mix. We have a lot of people who are still living independently, and I would say the majority of them probably are living at like an independent senior living community. But a significant number too do live in their own homes, especially if they're really close to the clinic, because we're in the Broderville area, so there are a lot of neighborhoods that are like smaller single level homes where a lot of seniors live. So it's a pretty good mix, really.
So is this covered by our, different insurance plans? I mean, I'm a little confused how you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. So Medicare is the primary payer, and if you just have plain Medicare Part B, which is what covers your doctor's appointments, then you could come to Oak Street. If people are on Medicaid and Medicare, they can still come, it's just as long as they have Medicare Part B. And then if you have like an Advantage plan, we take Humana, Anthem, Aetna, and United. But Medicare would always be like the primary payer, just like it would be at, your regular office, so.
And you're in Broad Ripple? Where in Broad Ripple are you?
It's not quite technically Broad Ripple, but 5030 Keystone.
Oh.
Yeah, so, South Broad Ripple, technically,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
What's special about those 4 insurance that you accept and don't accept others?
Yeah, good question. I'm not involved in those decisions, which is probably a good thing. But I know that it's probably with any healthcare provider, it's always a long conversation that they have where it's almost kind of like a negotiation, where they've got to agree to, and especially because our model is different, we have to be able to work really closely with those companies. So to be honest, I don't know exactly how those decisions are made, but I know that, those are the companies that we're able to work with to make the model work. So, yeah. Yeah.
Ron, I'll pick on you, Ron.
Somebody else.
Get off the hot seat. One thing I've tried to get out to people is one of my biggest things is to let people realize the fact that there's so many misconceptions about financial situations. I was told point blank when I was dealing with my in-laws that we had to spend down every dime, all that kind of stuff, and we were basically admonished that if they end up going on Medicaid that we basically had failed and that, whatever. So I found out later that was all lies. I didn't have to do that. Could you kind of tell people some of the things they can do to protect assets, protect marital asset, all the different things that are involved and when you do things and,
Well, the biggest friend you have is time. So if you can get to a plan early enough, there's so many more things you can do. One of the biggest disappointments for me many times is to get someone who is really in need that comes to me, and the first thing they say is, I've been told I don't have any benefits coming, be they VA benefits that I mentioned before, or if it was Medicaid. And I say, well, it's like most Medicaid attorneys, what their job is to get you in a position where you will qualify, so you can get the benefits that you need. Same thing for aid and attendance. Somebody will come in and say, well, what can I do? I've been told I don't qualify, and you say, well, you can do this, you can do this, you can do that, and you could qualify. And they look at you and say, well, I could have done that 2 years ago. And they could have. You can't lie to them. I'm going to tell them you could have done that 2 years ago. You'd been receiving benefits for all that period of time. And no to the next question, which is, well, can I go back and reapply for that? No, it doesn't quite work that way. So, time, you need to do that. Another thing let's take the Medicaid for a second. When there's a husband and wife combination, that's the time you want to do your planning. There's a lot more flexibility in that than there is when you've got somebody that has to spend down to $2,000. Because that's the amount of allowance you're going to have as far as a bank account that you can maintain at that point. And what you want to be able to do is use all the levers that you possibly can. If you've got a spouse, and I won't go through a whole planning cycle here, but let me just say, if you've got a spouse and you want to and you're in a position where you're going to have to go in and you've got a medical need, you've got to have some help. And then what you want to do is transfer your income producing assets over to that spouse, because there's an allowance that they can keep. So you've got to start that process early enough so you maximize what you can do and the benefits you can receive from it. Most of you know, and this is something that often happens, is somebody will be in a position they're in good health and they've got plenty of money, but at the same time, They think they can just give it all away and make application and get benefits. Well, you know, there's a thing called a look back. And there's a 5-year look back for Medicaid. And now, as of October of last year, they started a 3-year look back for aid and attendance for veterans. So and if you do give that money away to somebody, you're gonna have a spend down that you're required to go through before you can get benefits. So not only do you need to plan in advance, I can talk about this all night, so I know I'm getting winded here, so I'm gonna stop. But not only do you need to plan in advance, but you also have to realize that what you're doing is going to take some time. That's why you need to plan in advance. I guess that's self-evident. But when people don't do that and don't take advantage of that, sometimes there's very little an attorney can do in the short term. So I don't know if that answered all your questions, Jim, but that's
What do you think the biggest stopper is for people?
Do you have a copy of a simple plan that one could look at
well,
to get some idea as to what we're going through?
yeah, but the problem is not one plan doesn't fit all.
Oh, I realize.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to put down your question, but the idea of what you do really basically is what have we got to work with? When I've got a client that comes in to see me in the office, first of all, I say, bring your estate plan. You know, bring anything you've got in. You've got a trust, you've got wills, a power of attorney, anything. Bring it all in, because you need to analyze all of that, and then you need to get into the fact of, okay, what's the condition of your health? I get into questions like, what's your genetics and your family? You know, how, you know, what kind of illness can you look forward to, unfortunately. But that's germane. I know the law, you know your family conditions and what your objectives are, and together we need to plan this on out.
I have one other question. Where can you go, or to whom can we talk that can help me understand what the Veterans Administration can offer? Now, don't tell me to go to the VA hospital.
Are you kidding me?
Don't tell me to go to the VA hospital.
I wouldn't
No one
dare do it,
there
sir.
knows what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
Don't
they
tell
don't know
me-
what they're talking. Well, let me, and this isn't fair.
Don't tell me to go downtown to the
Well,
VA
you're
office.
telling me what I can't tell you, but let me tell you what I can tell you. I deal with those people all the time. And let me suggest to you that, I mentioned this October of last year when they put in this look-back rule.
Oh, I
They're
did.
still trying to sort that stuff out. They don't have a clue. You get 3 or 4 different people that review the application, you get 3 or 4 different answers. So I know the frustrations of that, I really do. We've got appeals that we're taking too on people that have made application because of the new law that allows you to go to a local hospital when you can't get to a VA facility. And we got 2 or 3 of those suits pending right now, where they gave it to them and said, we'll pay for it. And then the next time they went back and they said they wouldn't pay for it. And you say, well, you did before. So those are the kind of things. So I know your frustrations. Firsthand, I know your frustrations. But what you need to do, you need sometimes to find somebody that can push it on through.
Okay, you just implied an answer. You said go to somebody. Who's the somebody? You can't go to, the VA downtown. You can't go to the VA downtown.
No, I'm
Because
not
number
being
one, there's no place to park. Number two, you can't get in. You can't go to the hospital and find out anything because they don't know anything. And they don't want to talk to you.
No, I understand all your frustrations. It's not like we don't have those frustrations too. But let me give you one quick example. It's like me talking to another attorney. If I've got a client and he says, well, I need money from, I want to collect the bill from this guy. So I say, fine. So I talk to him and he says, well, you haven't got a right to get any of my money. And I finally say to him, well, whose legal advice are you taking? He says, well, what do you mean? And I said, you're telling me all this stuff like you know the law. Are you an attorney? No, I'm not an attorney. Well, you know, it wouldn't be fair for me to threaten you or anything like that. You just might want to get an attorney, which they do sometimes. And when they do, it's like a 5-minute conversation instead of a 10-hour conversation, and you get to the heart of the matter, because if another attorney lies to me, I know that's forget about that. We're not getting anywhere. Let's get to court as quick as we can. But the idea is to avoid court on things like that. And that means if you get somebody that knows what they're talking about, they won't give you a bunch of baloney because they know you know the law. And that's the only reason for getting somebody, like in any field. It's not just an attorney. If you get somebody, I had a guy come out and start my car the other day. And I told him when he walked in of the driveway what was wrong with the car. And he was very polite and everything. He went, got something out of his truck. He came up, got things started. And I said, well, you know, you're right. You need to go to a professional, somebody knows what they're talking about. And I apologized to him because I was out of my field. But you need to do something like that. And I know it seems, you know, you're pushing your profession, but that's the answer sometimes. It's unavoidable. And the quicker you do it, the better you're going to get the results. I'm sorry to say that the VA isn't doing it in terms of, you know, there's some good people in the VA, but they're not always that knowledgeable of the very thing you're talking about at the time.
They have a big turnover in their representatives that are in there, so everybody gets what they get different answers. Everybody trains somebody different, so they're constantly turning over different people.
I can tell you a personal story on that. I was dealing with VA aid and attendance from my father-in-law, and for 18 months I was getting dinged and thrown back, and it was maddening, and one day it finally really ticked me off. And so my son was campaign manager for Congressman Dan Burton, so I called Dan Burton and said, what can be done? And 24 hours later we had it done. I'm going, you shouldn't have to know a congressman, you know? And then I did my on-call, and I was advised to get with an elder attorney, which we did. Oh my God, it was the best money we have ever spent, ever, you know? So it really makes a difference if you have people that know how to navigate that.
And when you're saying the best money you ever spent, because you're leaving money on the table, and your benefit, the sooner you start to benefit, the more it already pays for itself. That's just the way.
Yeah.
Speaking of the finances, it's always amazing how much it pays for itself when you have a professional, an expert doing it.
Dave, I was going to say, I had no idea that people like you existed when I was doing things. So,
But what I do, not just me.
yeah, exactly. Both, maybe, but yeah. But what you do as far as sorting through processes, and so, because normally what I have found, maybe the fact that you're all here, I give you credit. My family was when we basically put things off and went through denial for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden went into crisis mode. And then you're out trying to scramble, finding a place or what have you. Dave sorts through. I'll let you explain. You know.
Yeah, like I said, I think the realtor aspect is the most analogous thing that I do. So I'm there to find the best fit for your new home, and we'll talk that through from, like I said, amenities to locations of what you're looking for, and then of course we're going to talk about the finances and care levels of what you need and what the long-term plans are. But one thing I really focus on is, what are you looking for? What activities do you like to do? What is your aesthetic? Do you think you might like this, this beautiful place, or do you like something a little smaller, maybe a little more traditional? I really want to focus on that because it's about being social, like somebody said earlier. Are you going to go down and enjoy the meals? Are you going to go on the activities? Are you going to take part in the community? Is exactly what it is. So that's what I really want to narrow down for you as we go through this process. And I'm there to go through it with you from start to finish. I don't just make recommendations and say, these three could work for you. Let me know what you think. We'll jump in my car if you want, and we'll ask the questions. We'll go on the tours together, and I'm really there to help you understand what they have to offer and what's there for you. I was helping a gentleman who was looking for his mother-in-law, and he said, tell me about this community, and I was explaining it to him. He's like, wow, happy hour, that's great, and it's got a movie theater. And I said, so does your mother-in-law drink and she likes movies? And she said, no. And I said, then shut up, Bob. That's not why we're doing this, Bob. We're doing it for your mother-in-law. So, yeah, exactly, yeah. So, you know, so that's really what I'm there to do. So somebody asked me today, they said, do you have communities that you like to work with that you really recommend? And I said, that's really a two-part question, because yes, there's communities that I like this community, and Allison's great, and I really like what they offer, but that's not my job. I'm there to find out what's going to be the best fit for you, and I think that when I recommend a place, that's what the community is also focusing on. What's the best fit for you?
And I love it because you can actually zero in. It's like, oh, all I care about is my dog. I just want to make sure I can have my dog there, and that's a huge issue for a lot of the seniors that I work with. They're like, I just want to keep my pet with me, and where do I go? I mean, he has that plethora of these are the places that accept them. Well, check out these 3. Instead of being overwhelming where you're going out and checking 30, zeroes it down so you can just look at those top 3 that are going to have the top things that you want. So
How much do your consumers have to pay you, your clients have to pay you?
Yeah, you don't pay me anything. So I do get a referral fee from the community. That's how I get paid. They pay me, but I don't have contracts with everyone, so I'm not just taking you to places that pay me in 30 days. So I'm building a business, and so I don't have quotas or anything like that. So I completely objected to that process.
What is your ideal timeline? Like, when would someone call you up? When they're starting to think about things, or
Yeah,
do you
you know,
have a perfect scenario?
I think, a perfect scenario, if you're going to move in less than 3 months, I think, ideally that's great. But the only time that I think that's really an issue is occupancy. If you start too early and you fall in love and you may not move, they may not have that. But that's what I love about my that I'm free. So don't hesitate. I think that theme's probably going to go on tonight. Just don't wait. If you think you might have an interest in that, we'll sit down and have coffee. We can talk it through, and 9 months before you call me again and you're ready to start touring, at least we have an idea of what that is. And I'm happy to do that. It's not like you get one and done and sorry, we already toured once, you didn't make a decision. No, we'll do it over and over.
Where does long-term care come in this picture? Or how you feel about using your long-term care? Does it apply here? Is it different? Just information on long-term care. If you wanted to get help to use it to stay at home.
Long-term care, depending upon your policy, can assist you with providing services in your home. Frequently, they cover my services. They can cover a personal care attendant. They add all sorts of different benefits. Some long-terms even pay for modifications to your home. Some even pay for equipment. Long-term will pay for what your normal insurance doesn't, but each policy is a little bit different. I have long-term, and I am so many dollars per day for this maximum amount once I qualify to start using it. Most long-terms you have to qualify to be able to tap into it. And that usually involves a nurse from that company to come and do an assessment. And then from there, what level and what services you need to assist you in improving your quality.
So you work with that company, or your company. Now, if your company doesn't have any agents in town, do you go to the mail, or I have Alliance Furniture or long-term care. No one hardly writes long-term care anymore because it's just so expensive. I mean, if I had to apply for that, do I go to the company and then you say send a nurse?
If you feel that you have needs, you contact that company and verbalize those needs, and they will either have you complete an application. They may do that and send someone out to do an assessment. Is the normal way that it does.
If you're looking into communities like us, so a lot of people that come into our community end up having long-term care policies, and they're really beneficial when you start to need assisted living type care. because that's when most policies have some type of information on there that you have to need assistance with so many ADLs, activities of daily living. And that's when you truly need assisted living versus independent living, staying in your home. Every policy is a little bit different, so that's why this question is kind of difficult to answer, because your policy is going to be different than the person sitting next to you. So from a community aspect, bringing that in when you find a community that you think that would be a great fit, we can look through that with you and we can help you start opening the claim process, helping you get on a phone call with your long-term care person and seeing if this community, first of all, even qualifies for your policy. Sometimes you have to have an RN in the building, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have to be a licensed building, sometimes you don't. So those are the questions that I can help ask for you, because a lot of times you don't even know what questions to even start off with. So we can help with that. My administrator, who's an RN, likes to sit in on those calls as well, because she has a nursing background to know what ADLs they're looking for. That way, when that assessment is planned, and if you end up coming into a community like this, we know exactly what your care plan is outlining. If we expect long-term care to pay for it, or if maybe you're kind of borderline because you're still very independent and you don't really truly need these services at that point. But those are all things that we can help with and get prepared for when you want to open up your claim for a policy.
Best thing is to know your policy. And
Right.
Call not the person that wrote it out, but calling your insurance company and
Well,
finding out exactly.
that's very, very difficult.
Yeah, but that's where I've seen people lose a lot of money because they haven't known their policy and they thought that it was paying for something, and they were paying it, and then they end up turning around and they're like, no, that's not covered. I mean, somebody who stayed in a place for 3 months, where they didn't even have to be there for 3 months, but it ended up, and then they found out that the insurance was not covering it. So you have to be really careful with that stuff. I mean, that's where knowing that policy.
So if you're in independent living, the little village, I think you call it villas, what's the financial aspect of that? I mean, do you pay monthly for that, or what?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how that goes?
Absolutely. So our villas are just a month-to-month rental. Same with this main building. So we're not a buy-in community. You're not putting up hundreds of thousands of dollars up front. You pay a one-time community fee. It's basically like a deposit. It saves a specific spot, whether you want to face east, north, if you like the end sunsets, whatever it might be. But that reserves a specific villa. Then from there, you're just paying your month-to-month costs. So we take care of all the utilities. So your phone bill, cable, electric, trash, water. We take care of 30 meals per month per person. So you do have a full kitchen in there with a stove, a refrigerator, dishwasher. But if you just feel like being lazy one night and coming over here and joining dinner with us, then you can. Because that, even if you're going into a one bedroom and you're a couple, you still get 30 meals per person, which is nice. So we take care of those utilities, we take care of meals, we take care of scheduled transportation. So as the winter months come forward and there's more snow on the ground, we can help take to and from doctor's appointments, but also doing fun things throughout the month like outings. We went to the Crystal Kringle Market, however you pronounce it, the other day.
The number
That-
one
yep.
in the world.
Mhm. So had some fun drinks out there, and some people even went ice skating. But so we do fun things like that. I know, it was a little scary. But we also go out to restaurants, right? We go out to restaurants. We do different grocery outings. So if you want to stock up on things and bring it on home, you can. That's included within your rent. We also have maintenance-free living. So if any appliance is going out, which we also do provide, a full-size washer and dryer, you call us up, you call the front desk. Our maintenance team is out there hopefully same day. So we're able to fix those things. So it's condo style times 10. It's independent living, but with some services. With the villas, you also receive emergency call response systems. So there's pull cords in the bathrooms. Everyone has a life alert button. So if in the event there is an emergency, you can press that at any time. It goes to our nursing staff here that's 24/7. So we're able to call over to you, make sure you're okay. If an ambulance needs ordered, we can get that ordered as soon as possible, because sometimes seconds make a ton of a difference. So all those things are included within your rent. So really, you should only be paying that one number, and that covers everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have pets?
We do allow pets, and we have a dog park.
Oh,
I know,
big.
fancy.
What different floor plans do you have available? I mean, is it always a one bedroom, or is it?
So for our villas, we have a few different floor plans.
Okay.
We've got 1 bedrooms, we've got 2 bedrooms, well, we just have 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the interiors are different than the corner units.
Okay.
So they're gonna be a little bit different laid out. I have floor plans in my office if anyone wants to look at them, but they're very spacious. 1 bedrooms are 850 square feet, 2 bedrooms range between 1,250 and 1,300 square feet. They all have sunrooms on them. They all have plenty of storage. You have a single car garage, single story, so you don't have to manage any stairs. So a lot of great ways to navigate the space. It's an open concept, so you can fit a lot in there. Yep.
But you don't want to fit a lot, because the lot can do that. You can fit a lot into the closets.
Do residents in the main building have a garage? or
They do
carport?
not. They do not have a garage.
So
here
they have to
in
park
Willow.
outside,
Correct.
no carport.
No carport. No.
Judging from all the snow on the cars that was out
I
there,
walked
nobody
by.
wanted to go
I
anywhere
walked
anyway.
by. All around, so I saw it.
Yeah, like, you could tell the residents it hadn't bothered.
No, thank you.
Smart. Don't go out if you want to.
Jane, in the real estate world, a lot of times these houses at this particular point may have been in the same house. The family's been there for years and years and years, hasn't updated. What kind of things can you kind of guide people through that process?
One of the reasons I have so many questions is because I try to sit down. The very first thing I do try to do is get to start with the end in mind. Where are you hoping to go? What are we hoping to look at? And that's one reason that I love to meet people 2, 3, 4 years before they've even planned the move, because there's so many things that I can help with to make sure that your house, which is one of your major assets, is worth as much as possible. So if you are thinking about painting, I know the color that all the buyers are looking for. And the other thing is, I'd rather you paint it and enjoy it for a while before you put it on the darn market, right? It always is prettiest the week we put it on the market. So one of the most important things is starting with the end in mind. If you're toying with, gosh, I love this place, but either my finances aren't gonna last to maintain it, or it's just too much and it gets to be kind of a heavy burden. We walk through the process from literally getting in the front door. If you do need a service like Caring Transitions, I know them, I can help, set up those appointments. But as a general contractor, maybe we just need, I may just find myself delivering boxes to you and give you an assignment of 1 box a week when I check in. Because it's so hard for you, but I always tell people it's easiest when you're the one in charge.
I agree.
And I do believe that, that just as we all have all said, be proactive with your own lives. Because when you're the one initiating even the interest in the journey, when you're the one that's managing it, it is so much better for you than when your kids have to come in or when professionals have to come in and do something that you kind of wished you shoulda, coulda done. I always tell people, just be really proactive about your life as opposed to waiting until your kids have to do it or your caretakers. And that's just, we're all facing it. I happen to be not too far from that, really, in terms of I've already gone through a downsize, a dramatic, we don't call them downsizes, guys. Nobody downsizes.
Right size.
we right size. And there's not a soul out there that truly downsizes in America, I think.
Yes.
But that right size can be such fun, and I think there's time. I mean, we're all talking about assisted living, which I certainly don't want to take anything away from anybody, but there may be, you got too much house, and gosh, you just love a nice smaller house or condo, or or you want to move to the sunshine. We can come in and help in any way possible. So yeah, what?
Jane, you didn't mention the company that you work for.
I'm with Remax. I'm sorry. And I am one of the top agents in the city in terms of production. We're very busy. I love working with first-time home buyers. But I've never been moved more than when I had to personally go out and start shopping for assisted living with a couple of my clients. And that was when I kind of decided that I have a gift. I have a sister, like I said, who's living in the house that I grew up in, and I know her emotions. I know I'm far different than she is. But there's just a special connection for me personally, and as a realtor, I do tend to get a lot more involved with my clients. I'm in their house, I'm seeing their personal possessions. I'm working right now with a family that will be the father and mother will be living in a basement with windows. They'll be getting a lift chair because one of them already cannot do steps, but that's fine. Mom and the 3-year-old are gonna live upstairs in a quite nice house. She's an attorney, but it's a way for little 3-year-old to be taken care of and the parents to stay young and active. And they don't even want an in-law suite. They're perfectly fine because these basements are gorgeous, and we're gonna get them all set up that way. But we have such fabulous opportunities. We've got Del Webb out past Fishers. That's a senior community. But then I've found too that a lot of people just want to go to a smaller home. I've had the most fun with people just wanting to get to Broad Ripple, where they're surrounded by younger people and they just want something cute and small and but that said, there's so many options, and it doesn't have to be from the main house to something like this. It can certainly be a townhome or condo.
My in-laws have downsized twice.
Downtown seems to be just really attractive to our 55 plus generation as well.
Can I go back to the subject that you were covering earlier when you want to unload some of your wealth? Not that I have any wealth, but I don't have a spouse.
Okay.
So if I give this to my daughter and her family, is that sort of the same kind of thing? That's my first question. And second question, what does it do to their tax requirements?
That's got to be a question for you, right?
Well, if you're giving it away because you're just philanthropic and you want to give your kids something to go to school on, something like that, you want to make sure you don't give away whatever you need for your own care and well-being and project on out as to what your needs are. So if somebody just says, well, I don't need the wealth anymore, one of the classic problems that I run into, I'm not saying this is going to happen to you, but it happens to a lot of people, is you'll have somebody that is given money away that will disqualify them from, let's say, Medicaid, or even VA benefits now. Now you say, well, I've got 20.
Disqualifying the giver?
Yes, you from getting a governmental benefits. So you may not want to do it that way, but on the other hand, you may be worth $500,000, $1 million, 2 or 3. I've got people come into my office getting off the tractor. They're getting off the tractor and they come in and they look like they don't have 2 dimes to rub together, and they're worth about $8 million. So they can do a lot of things if they want to. My point being, if you want a gift and you can afford the gift, that's a wonderful thing to do. You've got an annual exemption that you can go up to $15,000 personally, and if it's gift splitting, if you're married, you can do it twice that. So there's all sorts of things you can look at the gifting portion of it, but if you're really basically saying, well, I'm preparing myself for my future and I need to make sure I can care for myself, then that's another scenario. That's not the same thing. That's like we were talking here about what is it you really want to accomplish? What is it you need to do? So, you know, and I'm the same way. If I've got somebody come into my office, we'll talk about fishing, we'll talk about collecting persimmon pudding, persimmons from the trees. You know, and I'll sit there and talk to them, and I'll get to know the people that I'm talking to. And then I start talking, well, let me use and I'll make this isn't related to your question, but a lot of veterans that come into my office, and I'm a veteran myself, so I'm inclined to listen and sit down and talk. And they'll say things like, I'll say, what's your MOS, which is military talk for what is it you did when you were in the military. And they say, well, there's a brotherhood. You were Vietnam, but I was World War II, but I want to talk to you because we've been through many of the same things. And then they open up, and the most nervous people in that room on that visit, that initial visit, is somebody that's sitting there, the children of the person that is going to need to be cared for, because they don't know what they're going to do. They have no ideas. But by the time we're out of there, we've got a plan together that says if we do this, this, and this, we're going to get you qualified, or the daughter-in-law or the son or whoever is going to have to take them in gets paid by the VA for doing it. Okay? So there is a best case scenario. There isn't always a perfect scenario out there, but there is a best case scenario. And I know I'm being somewhat redundant here, but that's really the key to it, folks. What is it you need in your life? Do you need security? Do you need a plan to keep your business going? Do you need a plan to take care of your wife or husband if something happens to you? Those are the things you need to discuss with somebody who is able to put a plan together to make that happen, or at least come as close as you can get.
I think it was Jane that made a comment about a general contractor, okay? And that, Gail, that's what I think of when I think of you. As a general contractor for all things senior, kind of, I guess is the best way to put it. I had no idea people like you existed, again, kind of like Dave. So could you kind of elaborate on what it is?
Well, I can paint you a picture by a previous client. The daughters lived out of state, and they called me. Mom had just had a heart attack, and Dad was concerned. Mom ended up passing before I was involved. Dad had multiple health issues. He had macular degeneration, he was hard of hearing, he had urinary retention, so they had placed a catheter in him. And with that, he lived in an assisted living. They had lived there together. So I jump in, daughters are grieving, they're overwhelmed. So with him, the first thing I do is I work with the home care company that is managing his catheter. We had difficulties with this company. So I took him to a new urologist. The gentleman just had an enlarged prostate. He was able to undergo surgery and get rid of an indwelling catheter. He thought I was God. With that, I was able to also take him to a macular specialist, ophthalmologist. We were not able to reverse it, but we were able to slow the process down through proper treatment with this specialist. I took him to a new hearing specialist, and with that described his situation, because his wife always sat with him in the dining area, but with her gone, he tended to sit in the corner by himself, because with his current hearing aids, he could not hear other people. The noise was too much, and he was always asking him what. So we were able to get him hearing aids with the adjustment and modification, so he could sit at a table and listen to other people and became more social. That socialization helped decrease his confusion, his memory loss. Stayed with him probably 4 or 5 years. And as his memory increased, we did move to a memory specialist area. And we were able to get hospice to come in, and he was able to pass peacefully, and his daughters were able to come. But his quality of life improved. Granted, he missed his wife, but he was not isolated, and he was more social, and he was comfortable without the catheter. There you go. But that's an example of all the things that, you know, I work with facilities like this to make sure that his needs are being met here. If he needs somebody to assist him with remembering to take medications, or, you know, help arrange where he's sitting in the dining room, so he is social.
How many patients like that can you handle in 1 week's time?
Well,
it sounds like you're a private nurse almost.
It depends upon the client and their need. I have clients in crisis that I will see 3 times a week. I have others I just see once a month. It depends upon their need. And I coordinate and work with other, you know, specialists, elder attorneys. I have a lady who has a fear of mail, and with that she does not open mail. I was able to work with a CPA that goes and with her opens mail, pays her bills, and is able to show her all of her finances so that she's able to alleviate that fear and enjoy her life. So it's coordinating what that individual needs. I do belong to the National Association of Geriatric Care Managers, as well as the local chapter here, and love what I do. I've been a nurse for a very long time. I worked in home care, and with that, I've got a great network of people I work with. Yes.
Jack, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you for a second. Your story, what got you so passionate about what you do, I think speaks a lot about. A lot of times people are in a situation where they can stay home longer than they may think they can, you know, if they have the right tools there to get that done. I'm just going to turn this over to you. So.
Yeah, one of the things that people don't realize, one of the largest reasons for death in America is from falls. I mean, we talk about cancer, we talk about other things, but it's falls is just as bad as anything else. So that's something to me, something to me. But my father had Parkinson's, and I still to this day feel bad about it. This was before I got into the business. He had Parkinson's, and it got to the point, he was a big man. He weighed about 350 pounds. It got to the point where my mom could not take care of him. We'd heard lifts where we could lift him up. We had the carpet removed, and it was all wood floors, so we could wheel him around. But I still didn't know a lot of other stuff that's available that could have kept him at home. And matter of fact, my mom had a meeting with my sister and I and said, okay, we didn't know what the meeting was about. She called us over. She goes, I want to talk to you. Called us over and was talking to us and said, how are we going to get Dad home? And I just flat out said, this is the end of the discussion. I'm not talking about it. I said, I know you love him. I know you want him home. But if he comes home, you're both going to die. You can't take care of him. I didn't know all the other stuff that was available to help him. I mean, I just didn't know it. I mean, even silly stuff that I should have known, like door widening and stuff like that. There's just so much that can be done now. There's tracks on the ceiling that you can almost take somebody that can't move, you can take them throughout the whole house, basically anymore. All the stuff that I feel bad about today that I didn't know when I had that conversation with my mom. So it really affects me when I can help somebody. I mean, I get people, and I'm not exaggerating, I get people crying on the phone. And they say, I'm in a nursing home or I'm in the hospital. They say I can go home. I can't get into my house. And I said, well, when are you discharged? As soon as I can get a ramp. And so we can turn it around within a day or two and have them home. And the tears of joy, it's just unbelievable. How it's just nice to be able to help somebody.
Well, Jack, and that's why we're having these panels, exactly for that reason. Most of us have stories similar to that, and that's why we're doing this and trying to get word out. Renee, talk about carrying transitions and what.
One other thing that I was going to bring up was that a big thing is that a lot of people now today, you're not living in the same state with your parents because people are so much more mobile. And we have over 200 franchises in the United States, so we can actually, the great thing is that if we have somebody packing and moving from another state to here, or somebody coming here to go closer to their, we actually can literally organize the whole move and the transition, so it makes it easier for them, and then you have accountability on both ends, and we're working with the kids and helping them. That's a big thing, is I love having, I want as many people in the family involved, and that's a huge thing, and it's very huge if everybody knows where all the important documents are and those kind of things. Now if they don't, we'll find them, but it makes it so much easier for the transition when there's, like I said, you have a plan, you have an attorney involved, you have somebody who knows what's going where. And I know that right now, one of the biggest challenges that I keep seeing over and over is that a lot of times kids don't want to talk to their parents, they don't want to ask them the questions, they don't want to talk about it, we don't want to talk about numbers, we don't want to talk about going to, getting sick or, getting ill or having some extra help. And it's hard not to have this, but that's what needs to happen. You have to make a plan. They don't have to be sick, just make a plan. What are you gonna want when you get older? And that's huge. And also then you don't need to have 6 broken toasters in your garage. You don't need to have 3. I mean, it's huge. You don't need 2, cups in the kitchen sink. It's funny to me how many people have multiple things, and everybody does it. I'm guilty. I've had, like I said, this one's not broken, but somebody gave me another one, so I'll just stick it right next to the other one, and it goes in the drawer. But so, that's a big thing, is to start getting to the point where you start minimizing things as you're going through, and just taking a drawer and going through a room, starting on the left side, going all the way around to the right. What do you not love? If you don't love it, get rid of it. Or if you know it's one of your kids and they want it and they've always eyed it, hey, get rid of it, give it to them. Here you go. Because I can't tell you how many families I have had where we've had a storage unit that they've been paying. I had somebody who had a storage unit for 12 years. They paid $160 every month, 12 years, and we went back to this, and she had a 5,000 square foot home. We went back to the storage unit and we opened it up, and she wanted nothing in it, said empty it out, and there was nothing of value in that. So she spent $23,000 on a storage unit that she didn't, because we're saving stuff. Stuff doesn't matter, it's the people. So that's where you want to be able to pass on. That's what like I said, you want to be able to give the things that you pass on to your kids is really not the stuff, it's more of your values and the things that you taught your kids. And if you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. But like I said, a lot of times the parents are saving, these furniture, and kids are looking at it going, I don't want that, and they're like, I'm like, take it and then put it, give it to them. Or even they have all of their stuff. I can't think how many families have their kids are storing stuff in the bedrooms of their parents' homes, and they have, it's like, that's Jane's bedroom, and this is, John's bedroom, and they both got stuff stacked in the closets, and then they come and they're like, well, I don't want it, and then I'm like, okay, well. So, and that's kind of where we come in, and we're kind of that third party where we can say, okay, we're downsizing, we're moving this, so you gotta come take it now, or it's gonna get sold, and then all of a sudden everybody's like showing up and getting wherever they need to get. It makes it work. It makes it work.
Yeah, to go back to what I was saying about my dad, I appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate people up front, Dave especially, because my dad we didn't have him stay home, and he went to a nursing home, and let's just say I'm legally not allowed to talk about it. You can imagine what happened. So it hurts, and so when I see people here concerned and want to know what to do ahead of time, it's really a neat feeling to know ahead of time so you don't run into. Dave said he doesn't tell you where to go. But in a way, you tell them where not to go, because you don't suggest somewhere where you shouldn't go. So there's a lot of good there.
And Jack's got the hugest heart, because he literally, you help people get when they can't afford a ramp, he'll make it happen. He does a lot of things where you're doing the runs and you're donating the money and doing a lot of stuff that goes into giving the community. So
And he still has to drive to Fort Wayne tonight to go home, so. so.
Can I make a?
Yes.
Can I make a comment? It's bugging me to death. I didn't tell you the whole story when you asked me about giving. Yes. One thing you don't want to give is land, because if you give land, you're going to convey it at the basis the people bought it at. So all you're doing there is transferring it to children, perhaps, that if they sell the ground, they're going to have to pay all the capital gain on it. Okay?
They're including a
And
house.
she's a realtor.
I'm seconding that.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I couldn't live with myself here. I had to interrupt again.
And there's one thing that I would like to say that I think is critical, because I said that you should move on your own terms if and when you need to, or stay on your own terms. But the one thing that I think everyone would probably agree with is, it is not an imposition for me to come sit with you and visit and say, what if? Try on a lifestyle, even if it's just a conversation. Try on, I'm trying to decide, because my goal is not to sell your house. I sell plenty of houses. My goal is to advise you on what the right thing to do is. Maybe it is stay in your house, and I would love nothing better than to stop by with my crazy, quirky Christmas gifts every year and say, I'm so glad that you're doing well. Because we got a contractor in there and widened the doorway or what have you, maybe we get a shower built in your half bath that's on your main level and turn a useless dining